Hey everybody, welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Good day, sister.
Good day. How are things?
Well, at the moment we are recording, I am in Saudi Daisy, Tennessee, which is about 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes from Chattanooga, Tennessee. So
Nice.
by the time we leave today, so this evening, so by the time this is out, I will already be home.
Nice. Are you driving?
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh no.
nice.
We flew. So it's been a really good visit. It's been nice to get away and enjoy a lot of greenery. Holy moly, it's a lot of green. What have you been up to?
I was just thinking about that because when we ask questions like that, what have you been up to? It's like we go through a superficial thing, and then it's like it's so much deeper than that, and that's why it
Yeah,
starts out always kind of, you
surfacey.
know, yeah. And then
Yeah,
it's we get into the other stuff. I feel like there's so much going on. Like there's just so much. I feel like I'm changing so much. I just noticed that I don't have the same attachment to things that I used to have on attachment to things. I've actually gone through, we have a bunch of shot glasses because this is part of a process too, right? It's recognizing, and I tell people, I wish that you could figure it out because I wish I could have figured it out before the person passed away, right? Jim drank. I mean, I've talked about that a lot of times.
yeah,
And so what? We used to go to places all the time, and every time we went to a new place, or anytime he'd ever gone to a new place, he'd pick up a shot glass, and it would be like New York or Kentucky or where all the places that he's gone to, he's always grabbed a shot glass. So I have all these shot glasses, and for the longest time, I was irritated by them. I didn't like that they were even there. I remember even once where they had been in boxes for a long time, and I remember kicking the box like this is bullshit, and I know I broke some because hey, just a few minutes ago I found before we got online, and I was like thankful that I found it because me and the kids crawl around on the floor. I found a shard of glass
oh,
because I had recently gone through this box and stuff, and I'm noticing like I see when we went to Ensenada. I see when we went to Catalina. I see when we went to Cancun. Like I see all these places, Hawaii, all these places. I'm still selling them because I don't. I now get to see him from a different perspective and know that this was his. These were his. This was his memorabilia to go to each place.
yeah,
That was his memories for that. And it's like, how could I have? I did it, but how could I have with the knowledge that I have now? I couldn't do that because we evolve, right?
yeah,
Thankfully, and it's too. I guess for me because I was always so hard headed, and I always figured I knew exactly what I wanted. I understand why I had that behavior because I had to plow forward because I couldn't be so squashed that I couldn't become the person that I'm meant to be, right? It had to be that way, but in order for me to go through all that, it had to be his transition. And now it's 4 years later, and I'm able to look at these shot glasses and have an understanding that these were good memories for him. And that's why he
yeah,
was buying them. It had nothing to do with the alcohol. It didn't, but I associated it with that. So
right.
it's been a learning adventure, really. And it's just knowing, like even for massage, I've talked about massage a lot of times I've talked about leaving massage and everything like that. And I'm at a place now that I know spirit's guiding me in a different place, but it's fine. I'm good with where I'm at right now. It's not a big deal. It's like I don't have an attachment to it, whether it continues or doesn't continue. I'm just showing up and doing the work, right? Because the more that we just show up and do the things that we're doing right now and we can be in a space of joy, the more that spirit's going to show us. And I'm getting information all the time. Like I'm hearing it before it even happens. Or my daughter was going to leave last week, and it's like I looked out there and I said in my head, "Oh, her tires sound flat." And then my mind starts like trying to process, how do I know what tires sound flat on gravel? How would I know that? And then a few minutes later, she's calling me like all these lights have gone off in her vehicle and her tire's flat. And then 3 minutes said, "Have her come back and we'll take a look at it." Well, her tire was flat or low. And it may have been nothing besides getting her on the highway, right? If that's the stuff that's been happening. I'll hear it just before, or I'll see it, and I know that we can all do this stuff, but it's
Yeah,
the only way you can get there is by slowing down and tuning in.
Yeah.
It's not about all this doing and doing and doing all the time. It's about paying attention to this information that's flowing to us all of the time.
Yeah. I feel like that's a very good point that you made about the shot glasses because I'm sure there's no doubt there are so many people that needed to hear that. That those, some people might buy snow globes or a t-shirt or something, and Jim's was a shot glass. And in the way that you were at that time, you couldn't see that, you couldn't acknowledge that, you couldn't embrace that. And now, going on 4 years after his passing, that now you're looking at them and realizing these are memories for him. These were memories, and these were moments that you guys got to share together. For the most part, I would imagine that um, that you were with him and
Yeah.
you got to have the experiences together, and that was his way to remember those. And so, even myself, like, I needed to hear that too. Um, we don't collect a lot of souvenirs, but just having the opportunity to see things differently and see through different eyes, really. So thank you for sharing that story, because I just think so many people probably need to hear that and be able to just have a mindset shift about things that may in the moment be very irritating or frustrating or resentful, but we're only seeing it through our eyes, our emotions, our mindset. And when we can look at it just a little bit differently, then it softens and you get a different perspective. So, and that's not just about souvenirs or shot glasses. It's about a lot of things. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. You're welcome.
Um, things, yeah. Part of my processing while I've been gone is just thinking about I have a family member who drank a lot of alcohol. He's had a drinking problem for a while now, and is really after he retired. And we've had these conversations too, and people who have had jobs for lots of years and then they're not working anymore, and then they retire, and then they don't have purpose, so to speak. They don't know what to do with themselves. Their whole world changes. And him and his spouse not getting along. Well, he drank too much, and he took an OD on anxiety pills and fell and hit his head, broke his arm, and he was intubated for over, what I say, like 16 days. And just the other day woke up, and they took the tube out, and he just hadn't been able to talk. So I don't know an update other than that at this moment, but just processing all that. Like, how do you have those conversations when somebody doesn't want to be here? So
You just love them.
yeah,
I
for
don't,
sure.
we don't have to have the conversations. I don't think we just, the best thing we can do is send them lots of love. Honestly, that's what we can do. What I see in my mind's eye is you focusing on your heart and this rainbow going from your heart to
Yeah,
their heart, because it's regardless of whatever their decisions are, because
yeah,
they've lost what their purpose was, right? They think they've lost it, but it's only the death of an old for the beginning of a new, and
right,
obviously can't keep going forward the way that he's going forward. Thus, this where they're at right now,
yeah,
but still here because there's more for this person. But that's up to them to find, right?
right,
It's for them to be in the space right now, maybe not be able to speak. So now that they have to be in the space of being within, and who knows what this person's experienced in 16 days.
right.
My brother was induced in coma, God, years and years and years ago for like 5 days. And he said he didn't even know he was in a coma. He said he was going back, he was going to Laughlin and Vegas with his friends and doing stuff the whole time.
Yeah,
So and my voice starts getting all loud, but it's because they're still, even though their physical vessel is doing nothing on this side, they're doing something. They're
Right.
doing things.
And I get all that. I'm the emotion is just coming up. I'm not sure why. I think it's more the emotion on the other family member side, even though I haven't
Yeah,
even talked to him or anything. But yeah, this whole time, and even I told my mom, which is it was her brother, that I said, you just gotta love him, mom. You just gotta love just basically what you just said is what I have said. And when I go to bed at night, I think about him and I send him love and just kept speaking to his spirit that whatever path you are to take is your choice, whether you stay or you go or whatever that looks like. So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. Um, Now that he's awake. Um, so yeah, I mean it's his journey and however that works out, it's totally, but yes, I agree with you. It's to just send love. I told my mom, she said that she was worried about it and all this. I said, it's not going to do any good to worry, and you're the one suffering and you're the one that's stressing your body out because you are worrying. I said, it's just, there's no benefit to that. So just love them through it. Them, him, the family members, just that's the best thing. I mean, that I can see and know of at this point in my life and my belief system is that love overpowers the worry and the fear and the judgments and the criticism. So be a benefit. Don't contribute to the fear of it.
yeah. And I like that you brought up judgment too, because it's a lot of times it's mostly the judgment of self that
Yeah.
I find and thinking that we're supposed to do something different. Something recently, Freeman and I were having a conversation and we were talking about grief. And he said that grief has a lot to do with a loss of control. So we grieve because we've lost the control now. I grieve because Jim passed and I didn't have control over it. I didn't have control over it. And I didn't know what to do with all these emotions, these feelings that I had that whole time, right? And it's like I now looking back, I didn't have the tools. And I think even at the time, I was too much. I would say that I was probably too much in a victim role for me to even recognize those tools, to be quite honest with you, because it wouldn't have made sense because I would when there would be what I would call a situation happening, like here we go again, uh, it would be, and that was the same attitude that I had about things. And I know that I was not beneficial for him, but those shot glasses, those were his experiences, right?
Yeah.
It's like I was expecting him to fit exactly the way I wanted to in my experiences when I didn't even know what I wanted anyways. I find it fascinating because even still, I'm looking at these things, but it's like I'm recognizing, like, follow your passions. What does that look like? Well, if it's collecting shot glasses, go team, then do that because you may be collecting them for somebody else for some memorabilia. Now I have such a good feeling about them. I'm selling them I've sold one so far and I've got listed 22 and I have a whole desk full of them still to keep listing.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to list them because it's like, I don't have an attachment to it anymore. It's like kind of like having a life review in a lot of ways. I get to process this from a different way and I get to celebrate him. And now he's probably like smacking his head, like, finally, you understand where I was coming from because I was trying to fit everything in my box.
Yeah.
We always talk about not living in a box, but I was doing it.
Yeah.
I was doing that. And then living in everybody else's box my whole life because it's like I'm trying to figure out what do I really look like beyond what I've looked at or judged someone else and thought, ooh, I like that, I like that, I like that. Who am I? Who am I underneath all this stuff? And will I ever really 100% know in this lifetime? I don't know because we learn so much from everybody around us, what's right and what's wrong and what we should do and not do, that it's like, who am I? Last night I'm pondering. I remember Jim and I had separated. I was living with my parents. I'm a grown ass woman. It was before I even went to massage. And I'm living with my parents. And I remember getting home and I'm like, where's mom at? And they're like, she's in the backyard. And I look out the window and she's out there happy as could be, just dancing, listening to music. And I'm like, mom, get in the house. The people are going to see you. And now I'm like, I want to be that person that can be that free and feel that feel the music move through my body so much that I can't control it. And it
Yeah.
because I've controlled it my whole life, right? I've restricted myself from feeling all the things that I could be feeling in life. I did it. It wasn't anybody else. I did it because I didn't want to be seen, but I wanted to be seen. I did it because I didn't want to be heard, but I wanted to be heard. Like all this duality within myself that kept myself stuck this
Yeah.
whole lifetime that I've had so far. And it's for me to have this conversation right now, for whoever's listening right now.
Yeah. And I mean, she was demonstrating freedom, and
Yes.
you weren't in a space to
No, I
receive
was a
that.
detention officer. I was a detention officer. Get your ass in the house right now. You can't be acting like that. You're making a fool. And it wasn't
Exactly.
like that.
And then
Again, but perspective.
right. And then I want to go back to the shot glasses that um if you were still carrying that energy of resentment and anger and judgment, criticism, all the things, right? That those shot glasses, um, most likely ain't nobody gonna want them because of the
Yeah.
energy that you've surrounded them with and
Yes.
attached them to, right? So, but now that you're changing that perspective and changing your energy about them and tapping into those amazing memories too, that then they're more apt to move quicker.
Yeah.
So,
It's no different in art, right? Now, I may not have
yeah,
created these things. So we've talked about that, but I haven't created these, but I have now put energy into them. It's just like
right.
our Raymond calls them our Indian love stone. So any crystal that you have, you can put intentions into it. You can listen to what
Yeah,
everybody else says, or you can put whatever you want into that. And now you've activated it or have an expectation, or you can ask the crystal what it wants to do. But I mean, there's just so many different things. But these shot glasses, and so I'll go back to the art. When you're creating art, if I'm people love art for different reasons. They love it for how it feels and maybe not even recognizing that that's what's attracted to them to it anyways. If someone's depressed and they can feel like someone's emotions in that thing, they're going to gravitate towards it. If someone's in a space of joy and they look at something and it just gives them more joy, they're more apt to buy it, especially if they're in that energetic
yeah.
space because they match with that energy. So it's like it's everything.
And
All of it is.
how many times have people stood there and they ask, "What do you see in this?" And it's all different answers because of where the people are with themselves and their perspective of the art piece.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So it's fascinating, but it goes with homes and stuff like that too. So anybody selling a home, if you keep finding all the lack inside that home, all the problems, then you're never going to find anyone. But if you can sit for a minute and look around and think, I had a lot of fun with my family in this home, you
right.
know, and then because it's the same thing, it's nothing different than the shot glass. It's just bigger than the shot glass, but it really isn't bigger, is it? It's just energy.
It's just energy.
That's all that it is. It just is.
Yeah. And I want to go back also to what you were saying is like things are coming to you so quickly and happening so fast that um I've I've done this trip. It's been phenomenal. And I will think something like simple thing like um the TV's loud. Could you turn it down? I think you could turn the TV down and no joke, within a couple minutes, the volume of the TV comes down because they reached for the remote and turned it down. Or um, I, I'm kind of hungry. I'd like a burger. And then next thing I know, people are, "Hey, you guys want to go get a burger?" I mean, things have happened that fast this
Yeah.
entire week that I've been here. And it's true. I've slowed down. I've slowed down. Even though I have gotten some work done, just kind of relaxing. Like I'm looking at the view out here and it's just green and grass and trees and I've seen cattle and ducks and chickens and all, and just taking it in and slowing down, and the connection with the other people around me has been like I just sit there and I'm if somebody was watching my face, they would wonder what I was thinking because my eyes and my face was like, I just did that. But it's been a lot of fun doing it. Not, I mean, it's all been good stuff. So,
Yeah.
but just, yeah, how fast it's been happening is pretty amazing.
And it's because we're being like downloaded with all this stuff, and then we have another solar was it a solar eclipse or I think I don't remember that we have coming up. I think they said Wednesday. We may not even see it here, but it's like I've told people, it's like it's an energy thing. It doesn't matter if you're right in front of it or
Yeah.
wherever, you're
Yeah.
going to receive energy.
Yeah.
The earth can't stop the energy because it's energy.
Right.
It's just going to flow. It's going to do whatever it needs to do, and it's going to affect us all. And I've noticed the differences. And it's like even yesterday was 9/29, right? So it's like it's for me, and I kept seeing 9/29. Now, I don't know that anything happened differently with me yesterday, but the thing is, I feel like there's an integration period with anything that happens, so I may not necessarily recognize it. The week before, I was outside, and Freeman and I were outside. I could see a storm on each side of us, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I saw this boom flash of light. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it was inside, outside. And I looked over at Freeman. I'm like, did you see that? And he was like, no, I was rubbing my eyes. I was like, okay. Again, I don't know exactly what all that stuff means. I just know that what I'm experiencing. And the thing is, we get so caught up in all this doing. It's a distraction. All of
Yeah.
it is like
Yeah.
getting into, and what are you going to do? Because you're in a job that has you doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very fulfilling schedule, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do in situations like that where you can actually calm down enough? I guess probably what I've been doing a lot of too is like pulling back myself and almost coming above myself and witnessing how I'm behaving or how I'm acting, or isn't that, I'll look at me and like, well, isn't that interesting that Bev's having that experience right now? Like, where is this coming from, Bev? Like, because it's Bev's experience. It's Bev's experience that had the lifetime from, which I'm just now finding interesting, that from Nikki to Bev, right? I was Nikki when I was a kid. My family all called me Nikki. I don't know about my biological father's side, but I know that my family, my mom's family, they all called me Nikki until a certain point. So it's almost like having two different
Mm.
experiences, really,
Yeah.
because there's like so much I don't know. Like I was talking about my biological father. I don't have an attachment to him. We've been talking, and and I haven't actually talked to him for a couple months now, but we had been talking, and it's like, but I don't have any angst. I don't remember ever being bothered that he wasn't in my life anymore, because he really wasn't for most of the time, and maybe because he was gone, because he was over in Vietnam when I was a child. So those first couple of years, because he was in it for 4 years. So maybe those 4 years made a difference because I didn't have an attachment to it as much as my sister did. So like when he left to have the abandonment issues, and it's like I don't have a feeling towards this person. I just remember seeing pictures.
Yeah.
So it's just, I find all this stuff fascinating. And of course now, like I said, I was Nikki back then. So maybe, I don't even know if we were around this family back then. I don't even know. I don't even remember. I don't remember. I just don't remember that stuff. And it's fine.
Yeah.
So then I'll find the memories that are good, right? I'll find the ones that riding with my mom and playing in the wind, and on a day we're coming from Havasu and it's the middle of a heat stroke. Like, why were we in Havasu, Mom? Like, seriously. And we had no air conditioning. So the only air we had was just flowing through the windows.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just fascinating, but it was still a good time because I was hanging out with my mom and playing in the wind, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Nice.
just, life it's interesting. It's
Very.
interesting when we don't put ourselves into such the attachment to everything like that.
When we
So
take
anyway,
the pain and the suffering out of the stories and we really just kind of look at it from an observation point of view, then it really does change. It just
yeah,
changes.
yeah,
But we have, like you said, these attachments, and it just amplifies a story that we've created. A lot of the times, most of the time, we've created these stories, and then every time we think about that memory, it amplifies. And
yeah,
because we haven't changed our perspective and we're still in the suffering of it, and uh, that's where the practice of freedom comes from, when you can free yourself by changing your perspective, right? We're just coming back around to changing our perspective of how we're seeing something, because really a child doesn't have all the details. They don't know the details. They don't know, dad went off to Vietnam. he comes back, maybe he's jacked up mentally and emotionally. He don't know how to deal with public or people or kids. And the best thing for them to do is stay away because they feel, and I've heard these stories before. We can go down this rabbit hole, but we don't have time this morning, but that they don't know how to function coming out of a military situation where somebody's telling them what to do, when to do, why to do every single moment of their life. And then they come into the world and there's complete freedom of time and they just don't know what to do. Plus, whatever they've experienced is impacts them mentally and emotionally, and they don't know how to be around people. And so there's just, as a child, we conjure up these beliefs, and then we get to be an adult, and because we've been living with that story for so long, we've amplified it and kept staying the suffering and the pain of it, when really it's probably not what we thought at all. And I know that to be true for some of my stories that I was hanging on to. So
Yeah, 100%. When you're saying that, I remember my mom and my dad getting into a fight because they had rent due or whatever, and he went out and bought a stereo. But when you're saying that, I recognize, well, he just came from Vietnam. He's been there for 4 years. Well, any money that he has, he's going to want to go he's going to live life a little bit differently
yeah,
because he's been so restricted or so confined to a space with all these other people. Now he's got this freedom to do the things that he wants, you know what I mean? To live life.
yeah,
So from that perspective, it's like he came here just to live life. Even if he was cheating on her, he came here I mean, seriously, he came to live life after he's being faced with death. So
right,
it's like nobody would have understood that. I'm getting goosebumps when I'm saying this. So I know that this fits. And it's like nobody would have had that understanding. And now I've gained that understanding just having this conversation with you. Do I know for sure that's where it came from? No, I don't. But I'm getting goosebumps. So there's some confirmation about some of that stuff in there. And it's like I didn't have his experience. And now being the child and he's coming back into my experience, he's going to feel totally different than that person that left 4 years
yeah,
ago.
yeah. He's
He's going to
completely
feel,
different because who knows
yeah,
what he saw over there and that has really
exactly.
affected him, right? So,
Yeah. And we don't know.
right.
We don't know what was seen and all that stuff. And to have that understanding, doesn't that feel better? Like just to have that understanding, doesn't that feel better than being on the victim side? Now I could take it in a victim way and like, oh God, he probably saw all these horrible things. And but it's not about that. It's about he had an experience. And that's again, someone else in our experience, but not having an expectation for them to behave a certain way. And knowing that it was all right for the small amount of time that he was in my life, because there was nothing to offer beyond that, maybe for
Yeah,
my growth or whatever. And not being my growth like I'm it. But
yeah,
at that time that just there was nothing to serve and he needed to go serve himself, honestly.
yeah,
He's been serving military for, that amount of time. It was time to serve self.
yeah,
And then that goes back to the whole thing about really us paying attention and slowing down, finding ways to slow down more. It's not having an expectation of doing all these things, keeping busy all the time. I mean, like I said, I've got a desk full of shot glasses, but they'll be handled. It's just going to be in a different time frame. And before I would have really been on my ass about it, really,
yeah,
because it's, it's would be overwhelming. And how come I didn't have it all done already? And I was this perfectionist kind of person. And it's like, it's unnecessary now.
yeah,
It's just unnecessary. But
yeah,
it was part of my fuel before, right? How can I
right.
be the victim if I can't keep adding stuff onto the victim fire? That's the way I look at it a lot because that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So, speaking to the audience, take a look at your stories, take a look at your pain and suffering, and see if you can look at it differently, um, and maybe get that different perspective to help you have some freedom from the pain and suffering that you've been carrying for so many years, and bring some ease into your mind, your body, your heart, and know that it doesn't matter if you have the experience directly, even as an adult, you still don't know all the details because you don't know the what the other person involved is living with and believing and programmed and all the things. So we truly never have all the details of a situation.
Yeah.
So we just know from our own perspective and our own stories and our own history of how we feel about it. So take some time to go deeper. Like Bev said, when we look at something, there's actually more layers. There's a deeper, a depth to it that you just haven't taken the time to um, sift through.
And the more that you can let that go, the more that you can celebrate those shot glasses, the more that you can do all those
Yeah,
things, it kind of falls away and it's not the story anymore.
yeah, yeah,
It's just not.
yeah,
And that's a big deal. Then you're not carrying that weight on the shoulders anymore like you were.
yeah,
And find a guide. I would say find a guide. Amy's a guide. I'm a guide. There's guides all around you all the time that's going to have knowledge and information that's going to help change your perspective and help you to see from, from outside of yourself, and then witnessing that that's your story. That was Bev's story. And
yeah,
Bev doesn't have to carry that story anymore. Bev gets to be so much bigger. It's no different than retiring from a job, You retired from that job, and the thing is, we're always constantly growing, always. And when you stop growing, you're just setting yourself up. When you become stagnant and you just stay in one place and you stop growing, you don't keep looking outside of yourself, or I say looking outside of yourself, listening to the guidance from within inside of self to guide you on to the next. Like, you could find passions. It doesn't matter how old you are. I've been listening to Gaia Shania. She talks about all the things that she can see and everything that she can do. And she's talking about, we have certain time frames or certain ages that things happen. She knew for 33 was for her. That was one of her stages, that something big was going to happen, and something big happened. And you'll have to go find her story to figure that out. But my point is, it doesn't matter what age we are. It doesn't matter if you're 65, 85, 12. It doesn't matter. We're all going. It's like we've been, just like you and I right now. We've had these things that we're seeing right away. We're being guided in because we've done things for ourselves that have taken us more with inside of ourselves. We're being guided because we're beneficial for the people that are around us and the people that we come into contact. It's happening all the time. It's very important, but all you have to do is just be yourself and quit quit trying to keep yourself so preoccupied with everything so you can't deal
yeah,
with some of the emotions from
yeah,
childhood.
yeah. Awesome. Great conversation. Thank you, Bev, for taking the time this morning. I know you got to get off into your next adventure,
Yes.
and I as well. So, my friends, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate your time and energy. Go back and listen because there are some great tools and information that was shared, and also share this content with your friends and family or coworkers, people that could benefit from it, because we're all here to help each other. That's why Bev and I show up to do these videos. It's for us, it's our own therapy session, but we also know it's beneficial for others. So please either share the video, share the audio, share the content, or just have the conversations on your own. In any case, reach out and let people know that these conversations are being had, and they're beneficial for anyone who's ready to hear it. Any final words, my friend?
I was just going to say we're tuners. So tune into whatever you want to tune into. You want to tune into the past? Go ahead. You want to tune into the future? Go ahead. If you want to tune into God, the angels, you can do all that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And ask for help.
Yeah. And we'll ask for help and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for so much for hanging out with us. Tea Time with Amy and Bev. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.